What's up everyone? Welcome to another video of Full Speed Impulse. And if you've been following us on this Klx110l, you already know the deal. She ain't doing too good. So what we're going to do is start to get this thing all tore apart and get her ready for doing that big bore setup and also a custom airbox mod on this thing, along with the heavy duty clutch and that 22 mil Mikuni carburetor that you know that we like. So first things first, we're just going to pull a couple things just to get out of our way. I'm pretty sure this is already ready to come off, so we're going to pull that off. Pull off this shroud here, which one bolt left here, and then take our exhaust off and then start working at like getting our carburetor off and simple knickknacks like that. We have our oil lines down here with these fresh bolts and nuts here. He kept these things well lubricated so they'd never rust, you know, good for him. And yeah, so just pulled the fuel hose off here, and I don't know if you guys could see in here. This camera will focus. Let's try this. Look at what in the world is going on there? I don't even know what that is. Someone put some tire seal slime in the gas tank? Man, or a lot of water. But you done. You're coming out. Like, I don't know what's going on here. We're going to make sure we clear our fuel line here, and that's not coming from our tank. Because that's no bueno. Alright, so there's a wiring mess going on here, so we're going to see if we could leave the tank on. So one of the things you're going to want to do is undo your choke on that side, which should be like 2 bolts, 1 bolt. And then this is your throttle cable here. So maybe if you undo this here, it's just going to give you a little bit more wiggle and playroom and all that. And our boot's already taken off here, so that should already be out of the way enough. Take your front fender off. It's going to give you a lot more room instead of you trying to swivel the wheel left and right, especially when you go to pull the head off and all that. That'll make your life easier. And yeah, let's get at it. All right, make sure you drain your oil before you detach that line. Let's see what our oil looks like. Yeah, maybe a little milky. Nothing crazy though. Not too shabby. So not too much water in the motor itself. So I'll take that. That's good. It's a good sign. Next step, take our cover off right here. This is your cam chain tensioner. So what you could do is you could take this bolt out right here, take a small little screwdriver and run it all the way down to where you feel it lock. And what that's doing is pushing as far as taking all the cam chain tension off. Or what you could do is just remove this whole thing, which is what we're gonna do, is just these 2 bolts, because you're gonna have to take it off anyways because it's gonna go on the next new jug that you purchased. All right, so took those bolts off. Don't worry about having to pull it out. I don't know if you can get it out anyways. Not till you start pulling all this stuff off. But now your chain, it's not loose yet. Oh, now it is. Okay. So you just want to get loose enough to where you can pop it off here. I'm going to take these 2 off here now using an impact driver. And once we get this detached, we should be able to undo these here, and this should all slide off. And because we don't plan on putting a new cam on, we don't have to worry about undoing any of this stuff. All right, so we got our cam gear off, and we had to pull this assembly off first before the cam gear come out. You can see it's got this long shaft here that goes through there, so yeah, we'll have to get that put back together. This is kind of like your decompression lever for your cam. All right, so we got these 4 bolts off here, or I should say nuts. And then in here are actually 2 bolts also. You're gonna wanna get those undone. These are 12 mil sockets, and this is 10 mil socket. Making sure you have the right tools for the job is important. Even though we had our impact driver, there were a couple scenarios where we had to do good old hand force because stuff was on there so tight. All right, so now we can be able to pull our head off and see what we got going on here. Just hung up here. Ooh. All right, head is off. See a little rust through here. honestly doesn't look. That's a lot of dirt on the old piston there. I have to see if maybe our rings are maybe bad. So what I was going to tell you guys, which we'll address this later in the video too, but you have your little sleeves here for your oil passages. You're going to want to make sure that you put these back in the right spot, which it's kind of hard to mess them up. It's more like make sure you put them back in. Because like, for example, like your head's good because you plan on putting your head back. But if you're doing a big bore and you pull this off, you slide your new one on, you get your piston all set up, you're all super excited, but then you don't put your darn sleeve from your old cylinder onto the new one, and then you get all back together, it's going to be a no bueno situation. Now you got to take everything apart again. So we're going to address this a little bit more and see what we got going on here, and see if we can figure out what the actual problem is. Alright guys, we just pulled the jug off, and if you hadn't seen an other video, figured out what the issue was. These rings here on the piston are smoked. Being probably because the engine wasn't taking water, dirt, and he kept on ripping it, not knowing that this intake boot was off, and it just wore her all the way down. So, and actually, this would probably be a great little video for our one buddy that continues to suck water in through his BBR U-Flow intake that we keep struggling with these bikes. His piston rings probably aren't looking that great either. So, gonna be hitting that guy up, say, hey, we need to do something about your bike before the big trip. Jesse. All right, but back to actually getting this big bore installed. There's clips in here, and you should only have to take one out. One will push that sleeve in here out, and then the whole piston will come off. And then we're going to open up our big bore kit and start getting this stuff installed. Make sure we scrape off all our old gasket and get our new gaskets out, which hopefully we have some gaskets for this thing. And then get at her. All right, so we already got this out here. And all you do, like I said, is you pull out one of those clips we did on this side here, and then you just push your sleeve out. And you get these clips too, so don't worry, because when you go to pop these things out here, they fly. So all you do is see how it's got that little spot right there, and you would just put your pick in there and pry it out, and it's easy peasy, guys. See how I'm under it? You just roll it, and she'll come right out. Just like that. All right, guys, we're over here with our TB parts kit. Here's our piston. And your kit, you're going to get your rings. You're going to get a nice gasket kit with also a exhaust seal, which is nice. So make sure you pop your old one out, put a fresh one in there, because that's good. That's nice. So the other thing, too, your wrist pin. You get your little clips here, okay? But right now, we're focusing on our rings, okay? So, here's how it goes. You're going to have a thick black one. That's actually going to be your second one right here, or your middle, as you would call it, right where my nails running in. And then your top one's actually going to be the shiny edged ring here. It'll still be a little bit thicker than the other ones, too. You're going to go letter side up, or it may have a dot on it. There you go. There, this has an R. So this one is going to go first, coming from the top. Thick black will be the second one, and then over here you have your oil. I don't know if they call that one an oil scraper or not, but pretty much you're making a sandwich now, and we got these two little thin rings here. Doesn't matter up, down. These ones, it doesn't matter. All right, so you do that. Put that one on top. And this one's going to go on the bottom, and you put that all on the piston. Obviously not all together. You're going to work. I usually, I'll work the one on there, and then I think I'll put the wavy one on, and then I'll put the last one on there. So it is a little bit of process. And then once you have all these on there, we could talk about where you're going to put your gaps, but I'll tell you right now, as far as when you start with these rings, they all have obviously gaps. You don't want them all aligned, because that would be no bueno for compression and for oil. So pretty much here's your intake on this side and exhaust. Make sure you also get that right. So this is, if you're, I'll show you guys again in the video, but cylinder wise, your intake obviously goes up and your exhaust goes down. If you get confused by this process, just look where your header pipe goes through on your head. And that's obviously exhaust, or, you know, as far as your intake, that's up top. That's where your air filter's at. So intake up, exhaust down, and you guys get the deal. So we're going to start again. Like I said, we're just going to put the rings on. And so as far as gapping, you're going to put gap. You're going to gap one ring here. You put a gap here, here, back here, and then here. So you're just going to space them out. And you just don't want them aligned. And yeah, you'll be good to go. So let's get this thing dialed in. Be right back. All right, we got our rings on there. And I actually lied to you guys. What you're going to want to do is put that wavy one on. You can put these two rings on first. I actually put this ring on first, and I put this one on. Then I went from the bottom here. Put your wavy one on first, and work your thin rings on the top side and the bottom side. Make sure they don't cross. All right, and when installing that wavy ring, make sure that the ends do not overlap. And I'm going to try something different today. Is normally I will hook this up to the crank first, and I'll slide the jug onto the piston and then working the rings on. But I'm going to try to work the piston on here as far as at the workbench, and then I'll take it over there. I'll slip the gasket on real quick, and then we'll slide the whole thing on to the motor, and then hopefully just hook up the wrist pin while keeping this still inside here. If it does pop out, it'd be no bueno. But it'd be a lot easier as far as working the piston into the jug from just sitting right here instead of on the motor. Another thing too, before you start to do all that stuff, they put a little oil inside here. You're going to want to brake clean this all out, and then take whatever motor oil that you are using for your bike and just put a little bit in here. Then you can start installing the piston into the cylinder. All right, guys, we got our piston in here. We put some assembly lube in there. That's for your wrist pin, and we already got the clip on this side here, so we'll be able to slide this in, and then just put the clip on the other side, and we should be good to go. And we even got our piston set right, because this is going to be the top here, because that's where your cam chain tensioner goes. And you look in there, and there's our intake. So let's see. This might be a better way. It was definitely easier, way easier getting the piston on while it was on the bench here than doing it while it was on the bike. All right, guys, we got our gasket, we got our wrist pin in there, we got our clip on there. Piston is seated, ready to take a grommet hammer and pound this on softly. And also, we remembered our dowel pins this time. They're on the other side. And then, yeah, we'll get this on, and then we'll start working on the next step. All right, so we're going to do a little test on our valves here that we've actually done with the small block Chevy motors. But just going to do a little water. We're going to pour some in the intake here, and we're going to see if it seeps through here at all. And we're going to do the same thing with the exhaust side. That's going to tell us if we have a seating problem on the valve. All right, the water is in there, and I am seeing nothing at all, actually, which is really good. We might have just a little bit, teeny bit of dampness. Oh yeah, so we do got a little bit baby dampness there, but that is no big deal. I mean, that's almost pretty standard at that point. I know someone's gonna eat me up on saying that, but whatever. What you're looking for is the water to be like really seeping out or running. That's gonna really point to an issue. We are using water, not any type of oil, so this is not really a big deal. What we could actually do is just simply clean this up just a little bit, and just maybe flexing this in and out, and with the little carb cleaner and all that, might have just a little carbon buildup in there, which could be causing that. So as you can see, and we put a decent amount of water in there, so yeah, not a big deal. I'm okay with that. We're gonna try the exhaust side, and hopefully we're good. All right, exhaust is filled up completely, and again, we're looking good, guys. We're looking real good. Showing you guys a quick, easy way here. You don't have to take your valves out if you don't want to. You have a little C-clamp, Press on that just enough so you can open up this valve here, and that's clean in there a little bit. This is obviously just for carbon buildup. You can't actually relapse your valves anyways, as far as for dirt bike stuff, just because of the coating on them and all that. And yeah, just a great little easy way to clean these suckers out, get this all nice and spick and span. All right, guys, we skipped ahead a little bit here. We got everything torqued down. We got this at 192 pounds of torque, and then we have these 2 screws in here at 104 pounds of torque. These guys right here. So then we got this all, looks like we got this all back together good. I was a little nervous. This setup's a little bit different than your newer setups on your 2017 and up Klx110s. Got it all timed up. Everything's timed perfectly. Remember, you're gonna use a socket in here, 17 mil. Then you open this guy up here. Look for your timing mark. It'll be a little slash and have a T on it. And then you're gonna have your cam. And then if you're actually putting a cam in, we were not, but either way, you gotta make sure your cams are pointed downward when you're timing your motor. And as far as your lobes, and then we have our little mark that actually have a little groove in here, and you're gonna line it up with this notch right here. And then that's when you're gonna check all your valve clearances and all that, and be between 2 and 4 thousandths is nice and tight into OEM spec. And then make sure up here that you released your cam tensioner chain all back together properly. And then, yeah, so next steps, we're gonna be putting our cover back on here, and we're gonna put our tappet covers back on, and then it's time to get that 22mm carb tuner installed on this thing. Pour some oil in it, and should be able to fire up pretty soon. And just because we're not gonna be using the original choke setup anymore, we'll probably just have to put this here, or I might put it on the back side of one of these screws on the starter. But either way, we gotta ground this out. All right, but after we get her fired up and all that, we're gonna be doing our mod on our air box, getting this thing to breathe better, which is gonna be us kind of popping this tank off a little bit here, and cutting into this air box a little bit on this side, and getting her to breathe better. That stuff kind of mocked up here. We got the old 22mm Mikuni carb. Skipped ahead a little bit on you guys. And then here, we got just our standard normal cable. We didn't change our cable at all, or even our top off our carb. All we did is pull this off the old carb, and then hooked up the new one in here, and then just had to adjust your throttle cable a little bit looser, and she's in there. She's ready to fire up. Got just the right amount of clearance. Woo, she tight. There it is. See, there's a gap. All right, choke's on. Let's see what we got here. Buddy.
Oh man.
Oh man.
Oh man.
Yep. She running crispy. All right, guys, so that is the Klx110l with the big bore in it, running crisp. Make sure you guys stay tuned for the next video, because we're going to be doing a modified stock air box to make this thing breathe way better. So, because right now, you run the carb open, she runs fine. But as soon as you put that air boot on, she will not rev up. So that's no bueno. We definitely going to get that air box breathing way better. And then we also have some other mods that we're going to be doing to this bike. So stay tuned, subscribe, like, and you know the deal. Until next time. We'll see you later.